Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Today I want to ask the question of what is going on with MLW. As most people have been paying attention, Alex Hammerstone has been trying to get released from MLW. But he wasn't the only one. A couple of other guys, some of whom got their releases, the other ones didn't, also became public with wanting their release. Lance Anoa'i, who is the son of Samu of the Head Shrinkers, yes, he is related to Roman Reigns, and Juicy Finale, both were released in late October. In early November, November the 8th, Arez and Aramis, two wrestlers who were both signed to MLW through AAA, went public because they have also been trying to get released from MLW and was having a hell of a time doing it until MLW sent them a tweet saying, oh yeah, we released you guys 6 months ago. AAA was supposed to tell you. We'll talk about all of that momentarily. But of course, we start with Alexander Hammerstone, who then put out a video on November the 8th talking about his experiences trying to get released from MLW and what's been going on. So let's go through this as we need to talk about this. As usual, we need to start at the beginning. Alexander Hammerstone was signed to MLW and he re-signed in 2021. This is from Fightful. Alex Hammerstone signs multi-year extension with MLW, and he discussed the negotiation process. So I'm not going to read this whole thing. He says, at the risk of sounding cocky or overconfident, there comes a time when you have to realize that you are bringing more to the table and you have created more value for yourself. I was very fortunate. A lot of people don't realize MLW gave me an opportunity when I didn't have a lot of stock in the industry. Now, coming to a point where maybe I do hold a little bit more cards in my hand, there were things that I was looking out for because you realize there are going to be other offers on the table. A lot of people like to prematurely think that they have a lot of value when they don't. They'll say this guy should go to this company or that company. It's like none of these companies even want them. Once you do get to a point where I feel like I would have had other options at my fingertips, I had to make sure I was in a position where I felt taken care of. They were able to afford that. Just considering the fact that I'm not getting any younger, I've been in the business for 10 years now. And it's finally nice to be in a position where I'm really starting to see a return from it. Beyond that, there are a lot of things that MLW offers me that other companies might not. Not an intense schedule, not the demand of being on the road 5 days a week or something like that. That's not something I might ever want to do. As my time goes on in wrestling, I always say I love wrestling. I would wrestle for free, but you have to pay me to travel. I love the wrestling part, but the traveling kicks my ass, and is the most frustrating part of it. There are a lot of advantages at MLW right now. As far as the contract goes, we were able to come up with something I was happy with. So, that's part one. Part one is that he came up, contract was coming up. He was the world champion at the time. And then, he renegotiates with MLW, just 2021. And then what happens? Well, something happens to influence his re-signing with MLW. And that is, he watched WWE release a ton of talent. He even mentions this in his why he renewed. He says, watching companies like WWE release a multitude of guys who are legitimate world championship material. I've always thought that Kevin Cross, since he got into this business, if WWE gets their hands on him, puts the machine behind him, he's going to be the next megastar. Beyond even in wrestling, I thought he was a movie star. He's the most charismatic dude in the world. To watch him now, he's without a job. I'm sure he's going to be fine, but it makes you realize that things are changing so fast. Nothing is guaranteed. You're not sure who is looking out for what. All those things play a factor when you're renegotiating. So, WWE is seeming unstable because they're firing a bunch of guys. This is in 2021, of course. I have to say it again, so I know some people are a little bit on the downslope. And so, personal relationship with Court Bauer becomes a thing. It becomes something worth talking about. He mentions this too, and why he's re-signed with MLW. Having a more personal relationship one-on-one with Court Bauer and the office, and realizing there is a trust and value there. that it's more than just we're trying to lock you up because we don't want other people to have you. No, we place value in you. We see what you're going to bring to the table. We want you to be a big part of this company going forward. I feel that duty and responsibility and pride of elevating the company and taking something that isn't as well known as it could be or should be at this point, and hopefully bringing more attention to the product. Okay, so he's got a pretty good relationship with Court Bauer, but this was just 2 years ago. Now he wants to be released. So in October of 2023, he decides to go on Twitter and confirm some reports that he was asking for his release. So this comes from October the 29th. And he tweeted out, "My time with MLW was 5 of the best years of my life and career. Very proud of what I and the company accomplished. I wish them continued success. I have recently asked for my release as I feel it's what's right for me at this time. Thank you, Court Bauer, for the opportunities." A little time passes, maybe a week or so, after he made it public that he wanted to leave. And then on November the 8th, he goes on Twitter and releases a comment, a video, in which he goes through and reiterates that he's been trying to leave MLW. And to paraphrase some of this, he says, "The point of this video is not to bash anybody. It's not to talk negatively about the company. It's just to be an update on the situation as I currently understand it. Now, this whole situation kind of broke to the news and the dirt sheets just recently, but it's actually been going on for a couple of months now. The communication on that end, to me, has been sparse, to put it nicely. I've tried several times to get on the phone with Court Bauer. It hasn't happened, unfortunately. The people in the office that I have been related to speaking with, the last I was told was that they were actually working towards a release. However, that was several weeks ago at this point. Then when they broke the story to the dirt sheets, they told them that they had actually no intention of releasing me. So I'm not sure if there's a miscommunication somewhere, or if I was simply told that just to kind of shut me up and make me leave them alone for a while. But like I said, I'm trying to leave the emotion and the options out of this. I'm guessing he means opinions. And just give you the facts of this, and just give you the facts of my situation. The facts are this. I have not worked for the company in well over 100 days at this point. They removed me from their active roster page. They removed me from all current marketing material. They edited me out of the show intro and highlights and those sorts of things. I have not been contacted for any dates moving forward. Several dates have come and passed. I wasn't contacted to work those. I have not been contacted for their upcoming shows. It's been pretty apparent to me at this point that they have no intention of using me moving forward. But their official statement was that they have no intention of releasing me. So I'm not sure if I'm being punished just for asking if that was a possibility, or if there's a miscommunication somewhere. Unfortunately, that's the best I can do, is to update you guys right now. Trying to stay optimistic and trying to move forward one day at a time. I love this business, love this sport. I want to continue doing it on a high level. Hopefully there's a resolution to this situation soon, but that's all I can give you right now. So he's trying to get out of this thing. 2 years after re-signing, he's trying to get out. Now, I don't know what the details of his deal are. There's no way of knowing that. That's personal information. How the hell will we know? But something had to have changed. Now, clearly, he was the world champion 2 years ago. He was world champion for a short time, and then he lost it. I haven't been following MLW, but I believe he lost it to Alex Kane. Alex Kane's been the world champion for a while now, and apparently Hammerstone hasn't done anything in that time. He says that he hasn't worked for the company since July. But he's been removed from everything, which seems like they're prepared to release him, but they haven't done it yet. Now, he says that this thing's been going on for months. Well, also a couple of months ago, Lance Anoa'i, the son of Samu of the Head Shrinkers, he also asked to be released, and he actually got his release. He had a tag team partner named Juicy Finau. They were, I think, the Samoan SWAT team, I think they were called in MLW. And he was also released. But then that brings us to Ares and Aramis, who apparently have been trying to get released since May of 2023. So Ares, because he had not heard anything from MLW, decided to make this thing public. So he posted a very long comment, but it was in Spanish. And then he posted the same comment in English. And it says this: to the general public, I find myself forced to address the following situation publicly with the hopes that a resolution can be found. I join the recent wave of fellow professional wrestlers just like me, having requested their release from MLW and its president and owner, Court Bauer. Firstly, I would like to sincerely thank Mr. Bauer for his interest in my career more than 2 years ago when he invited me to join MLW in spring of 2021. AAA presented me an offer on behalf of MLW to join their roster for 3 years. Although I did not understand the contract, as it was never presented to me in Spanish, and I am not an English speaker, and even though I did not have a work visa at the time of signing that would even allow me to accept a job offer in the U.S., I told AAA that I was very interested in signing the contract. The salary I was offered contractually was considerably below my indie rate, but I accepted it as I hoped to see my career grow by being a part of MLW. The reality is that MLW has not offered me any matches in over 18 months, and I see no interest whatsoever in offering me any work. With this situation and knowing how much work it has cost me to survive based on my income as an independent wrestler, I respectfully requested my release to Mr. Bauer more than 6 months ago, which he refused. MLW has refused to cancel my contract in writing, even though I don't even believe it has any legal weight, as I was ineligible for work in the U.S. at the time of signing, and as a Spanish translation was never presented to me. If I had the resources and a team to challenge this in court, I'm sure the outcome would be favorable. But since I do not have these resources, I'm forced to air this problem publicly since my family's well-being is at stake. Reading the multiple reports about the recent wave of MLW talent similarly requesting their releases, I find myself obligated to join these voices and find resolution to what I believe is an unfortunate situation for all parties. I hope my fans and fans of Lucha Libre in general understand and can support me, and any other wrestler caught in a similar situation of being tied to a company that has no interest in giving them work. I hereby request once more to Mr. Court Bauer my full release in writing from MLW. I mean, damn. He didn't work for them for 18 months, and he was still under contract. Now, I know everybody's going to talk about WWE. We'll get to that. But this guy was presented a contract in a language that he does not speak. He trusted AAA and signed the contract, and now he can't get out of it. Well, at least that's what he thought. So then MLW decided to post a tweet. MLW notified AAA in May that both Ares and Aramis were released from their MLW contracts, as AAA is a co-signee on both contracts. AAA confirmed they would relay this to the talent at the time. Evidently, they did not. We wish Aramis and Ares the best with the future. You cannot do that. You do realize that, right? If you release them, you were supposed to tell them they're released. Yes, you work with AAA, and I get that, but you're supposed to release them, and then it was supposed to be sent to them in writing from MLW that they are released from their contracts. Furthermore, signing guys to contracts in a language that they do not understand is also illegal. You can't do that. Now, you can use a translator, and that would probably be MLW's defense, is that AAA was acting as a translator. But you have to present contracts in the language that the person signing speaks. And then also the release has to be in the language that the person speaks. And also a tweet does not count as your release. That doesn't happen. There needs to be a legal binding document sent to these guys telling them you no longer work here. MLW is going through it. Now, we see that they have released some people. Alicia Atout, who apparently is the girlfriend of MJF, she wanted to be released from MLW back in May, and she got her release. Again, Lance Hawaii, Juicy Finau, they both got released. But Alexander Hammerstone, well, Arez and Aramis apparently are also released. But it's lonely Alexander Hammerstone now, who is now looking at the screen like, God, I see what you do for others. Why won't you do it for me? I mean, MLW's out here running like a temp agency. All right, look. I've said before that talent should honor their contracts. When guys were under WWE contracts, whether they were FTR, whether it was Mustafa Ali, when guys go public for their desire to be released, I understand from both sides. One, I understand that if you're the talent, you want the release to come as quickly as possible. Whatever it takes, just get out of that contract. I understand from the company's perspective that if you go public, now they're going to punish you. Now they're going to, they're going to go after you, and they're going to purposefully not release you because you are being a headache. But I am a fair person. Release people from the contracts if they don't want to work there anymore. Like, unless they owe you money, just release them from their contracts. Mustafa Ali should have been fired a long time ago. All right, he should have been released. I'm 100%. Hey, you should honor your contracts if possible. When Brian Pillman Jr. was still under contract to MLW and he wanted a release because he wanted to jump ship to AEW, they made him work the rest of that contract, and he did the manly thing of finishing his contract. I get it. Sometimes you sign this is the one thing about sort of libertarianism that kind of sticks in my craw. And that's why I wanted to go back to 2021 in doing this video, to show you that times have changed. Things changed. Alexander Hammerstone signed with MLW when he didn't have that many prospects. He didn't have a lot going on. He re-signed with MLW when, one, it looked like they were going to get on television, because I think they were probably doing the Vice thing at the time. This was before they got on Reels. So he probably was about to do the Vice thing. He probably saw some kind of situation where the business were going upwards. He was the world champion. They were pushing him. Things were looking good. So he re-signed real quick. Then he also saw a bunch of people getting released in WWE. And he was like, you know what? And the free agent waters ain't too good right now. The grass ain't exactly greener on the other side. But then 2 years pass. WWE is trying to make good with all the people that they released before. MLW's business ain't as good anymore. They got the Vice TV deal and they lost it. They got the Reels TV deal and they lost that too. Now they're in a long legal battle with WWE, which I'm pretty sure is draining the coffers of their company. He's not the world champion anymore, so he's not even a top guy in this place anymore. He figures, okay, it's time to go. It's time for me to test the waters somewhere else. And this is where people need to realize that decisions are made in the moment. And trying to have these decisions, and yes, all decisions made in the moment have ripple effects. You drop a pebble in a still stream, it's going to make an impact, but it's also going to ripple outwards. He made a decision right around the time of the pandemic that he was going to bet on MLW. He was going to stay there. He was going to work with them. He was going to build the company. He saw the promise. They saw potential in him. It was perfect. And then things started going sour. And now he's like, I got to get out of here. I got to get off the ship. I'm getting older. The time for me to make a lot of money in this business is shrinking. I got to get off this ship. And MLW is like, wait a minute. For better or worse, baby, this is a marriage. And I understand that from the company's perspective too. It's like, we invested in you while we were up. and then you want to ditch us when we were down? It sounds all very unfair, you know? So I understand both sides of it. I always want talent to honor their contracts. You gave your word. But I also understand that things change over time. You know, the situation as it occurred in 2021 ain't the situation in 2023. Yesterday's price is not today's price. You know, I get that. At the same time, though, I'm not mad at MLW having released him. I say poor Hammerstone, because this is a sad situation where he's trying to get out of there and they're not going to do it, or at least not anytime soon. And he's in a tough, tight spot, because I'm pretty sure if things had worked out the way that he wanted it to work out, he would still be a top guy in MLW. MLW would be on TV, they'd be making more money, and everything would be working out fine. But he bet and he lost, and he's willing to take the L on that bet. But he's also trying to get off this sinking ship. And it's pretty clear to me, at least, that MLW is a sinking ship. All these talent all of a sudden asking for their release at the same time. Now, it seemed like something happened in May to make all this stuff happen. And that something is that the Reels deal ended. Now, they had a short run on Reels. I think it was 13 episodes, and it ended in about April. And they started negotiating for a new contract with Reels. And then Reels signed that deal with Peacock that got MLW bumped off. It was still on TV, but they couldn't be on Peacock. And then they sued WWE. So that cost them a ton of money. This thing's been going on for a long time now. And so the company's been under a lot of pressure. You know, Court Bauer has got to be under a lot of pressure. But there's not a lot of people who work in MLW. How come he can't answer his phone? You know, how come Hammerstone, who he says, I have a good relationship with Court Bauer, and then he wants to get released, all of a sudden he can't find him? That sounds like a Tony Khan situation. You know, he's your best friend until, you know, you got bad news for him. Then all of a sudden, I got something else to do. I got to go trim my nose hairs or something. It's very unfortunate. This is an ugly situation. But of course, it leads me to the question of, is MLW about to go under? And people are just not saying that yet. Because that's how it seems to me. To have all these talent basically quitting around the same time, things must not be looking very rosy all over there in MLW. It seems to me that this whole lawsuit is an opportunity to make money, because you can't draw any. So we're going to sue and hope for a nice hefty settlement. And then we will be able to keep the lights on. And then maybe some of our talent will stop trying to leave. Now, one of the bigger things that I've noticed is that how many talent said that they weren't even contacted to work, which means that they likely couldn't even pay them. You know, maybe they couldn't afford them to work. Maybe they were, you know, they got to run talent that are closer. Maybe they can't pay for them to travel or something like that. There's certainly something going on over there. And maybe somebody needs to dig and figure out what that is. But it won't be me. All right, like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later.